You're listening to Gospel Reign, where the truth, authority, and power of God's Word take center stage. Join Dr. Matt and Dr. Micah as they dive deep into the great doctrines of the Christian faith, explore how the gospel transforms our world today, and reflect on the stories that shape our walk with Christ. We hope you enjoy this week's episode of Gospel Reign.
Welcome back to the Gospel Reign podcast. It's good to be back with you, Doc.
Yeah, be fun.
We've had some great conversations of late. I think last time we talked about the person and work of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
That was really good. Enjoyed that very much.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
How it dovetails a lot with kind of what you're preaching. And, you know, we get questions from time to time about the Holy Spirit and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the spiritual gifts, we may get into that.
Yeah, that's a good point. We haven't done that, I don't think.
No, I don't think so. And it'd be, I don't want to be controversial, but it'd be fun.
It would be fun. I don't see controversy there, but I don't know.
Either.
I don't know, but because you get into the miraculous gifts, that's where it gets.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that shouldn't be controversial to the life of the church and to kind of the rhythms of the church is a focus on missions.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're kind of finishing up our annual budget, getting ready to launch into a new fiscal year for us. So our year starts in September and kind of goes around. So we've got mission trips planned and a bunch of great opportunities. But kind of what undergirds as we think about the missions ministry in our church is a structure that you had kind of put together and have kind of walked through in terms of the behind-the-scenes strategic planning of the missions ministry of Germantown Baptist Church. And we've talked about this over the last year and a half or so, and I love it, man. I love it. I'd love to unpack it with you.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be insightful for our church family, but I think it'd be insightful for any ministry leader that's thinking about kind of a conceptual framework for the missions motivation and the mobilization of the church for missions.
Well, that's a good way to put it, framework. I think I've kind of used the word a target, kind of, in other words, as a senior pastor, my responsibility, as I see it here at GBC, is to kind of paint a target on the wall, like set the trajectory for the missions ministry of the church so that there's no guesswork. Like, what does that mean? What are we doing? Like, what is the plan? It's not necessarily a plan, all the points of mission trips and where we're going and how we're spending money. It's not, but it's more or less a target. Like this is what we're aiming for. A plan would be that would flesh that out, kind of putting flesh on that skeleton. But I thought it would be helpful to be able to kind of explain what is that skeleton, what is that framework or that target for GBC. It may not look the same for every church, although I will say what I'd like to be able to share today, I think completely should fit the framework of any church.
I agree.
When it comes to missions,
I
think
agree.
It's easily played out in the life of a church.
It absolutely is, and you've done a good job. And I don't know how we'll put this up here. Maybe we'll post in the show notes or something. But this target, I think one of the things is just kind of philosophically that you point out as we're going to talk through this today, is that there are a number of ways to mobilize the church to participate in missions.
Yes.
I mean, our goal might be more people actually going on trips, becoming missionaries themselves, getting mobilized for actual local evangelism and international evangelism, stuff like that, church planting. But there are ways in which someone who may not be able to participate in an actual mission trip, travel, do that kind of stuff, is still able to participate in the mobilization of missions in some very tangible ways.
Yeah, it looks different in different churches depending on how much money you give or how many people you have or connections you have or partnerships around the world or in your own community. So it's going to look different for every church. The specifics are kind of unique to that body and to the DNA of a local church. But what lies behind all that is kind of a framework for at least answering the question, what are the necessary things that we should be doing and what are the things that we should be aiming for, no matter the makeup of the local church. So where this came from, just so you know, and I think you and I have talked about this, but the last church I served previously, this was about 6 or 7 years ago. I was in a process of thinking through, because I wanted to make this make sense in some way for my previous church. Like, how do I do? Like, can I create something visually? Because I'm a visual kind of guy. I just like I like something like this. So I've created something on paper to kind of give a visual of this target. So I wanted to do that for my last church, and so I spent a lot of time reading books on missions, writing down things, thinking through, shaping, formulating my own kind of philosophy of missions within the local church. And so this one-page thing that you've got is basically a summary of all of those thoughts and research that I put on paper myself. So again, it's not necessarily unique. It was unique to me in the way that I kind of came up with it. I didn't find this in a book anywhere, but really it came as a result of putting all that kind of research and prayer and thought together. So I attempted at last church to kind of implement it, but I really didn't get a lot of traction. I think it was probably more or less because of me and because of where I was. Like, how do I share this now? I have it on paper, but how do I make sense of this, the life of the church? Well, that was coming toward the end of my time in my previous church, and I was really discouraged about it, thinking, man, I've got all this now. Now what am I going to do with it, And so we left there and came to GBC 5 years ago, and I realized as I was kind of, walking in the door of GBC within the first, year or so, I thought, that's what God was doing. That's why he was leading me to do that. I didn't know it was for the church that was to come in my ministry. I didn't recognize that. But when I got here, I realized, I think that was what all that work was done for, was to be able to help us kind of create a framework for missions at GBC. And so at least that's awesome. Seed form kind of initiated that opportunity to go, okay, this is what, as a senior pastor anyway, these are my expectations for the life of the church when it comes to missions. I made really clear when I walked in the door here that there are going to be two major pieces of ministry puzzle that are going to be on my radar at GBC. One is discipleship, and the other is missions. Discipleship, we have I think a robust discipleship ministry now that continues to get traction and grow. Really, really excited about that. This is the other piece of that. The missions piece of that is something I'm really excited about. I thought it'd be good in a podcast to kind of lay this out. And so, at least for our church members, but for those who are not church members looking for a particular kind of strategy, like how do we go about it? What should be at the base or the foundation of a missions ministry? Maybe that will help you in your own church. It'll definitely
provoke some thinking around those things. In fact, I've been here for 2 years. I'm in my third year at GBC, and this is one of the first things that you showed me when I came on staff. I remember you kind of unpacking this. I'm like, man, this is fantastic. And as the executive pastor, part of my role is to execute some of the vision and direction that you lay out for our church and be a part of that as a catalyst. And so this is very relevant to me, kind of stepping in this role. I like how you did this. For those of you that are listening and not watching, essentially what Matt has done is he has taken the word gospel as an acronym. And we'll talk about these 6 pieces, and then one of them has some sub pieces to it. And so it's a really neat visual, kind of an arrow, aiming at a target, a direction of these kinds of things. And it's really essentially to mobilize for missions according to this acronym of gospel. So let me just state the 6 terms, and then we'll kind of spend a little time. So G, giving. O, ongoing community missions. S, short-term trips. P, permanent church plants. E, establishing a foundation. And L, long-term partnerships.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of, as I think back through it, there's a lot of work put into thinking through how you get and all things on the table. When I first got to GBC, and I shared this in a Women on Mission group. It was the first time I'd ever really shared it in this form. One of our pastors was with me in that meeting, John Longworth, and so we got done. He followed me out in the hallway. He had taken notes, and he said, hey, based on what you just shared, I think that all fits within an acronym. And I said, what do you mean?
Really?
And he said, if you rearrange one or two of those things, you've already got the letters. All you have to do is rearrange it, and it's gospel. I was like, well, I didn't even see that.
Wow.
So he was the one that kind of arranged it into that acronym, the stuff was already there, but he was like, if you just kind of take one piece and move it around, you
I'd
get
have
that.
stolen that from him.
Man, I'm telling you.
Dude,
So I've got to
own
give
it.
him credit.
That's
He
humble and awesome.
Well, I'm giving him credit, but
Yeah.
it does work out really well. And
Well, and it
I
is
like
good.
It easily communicates, I think.
I agree, and I think that's great because even to start with G in terms of giving, this is one of the lower hanging kind of entryways to mobilizing
Correct.
for missions. I mean, people are accustomed to giving a Lottie Moon Christmas offering, contributing through missions through cooperative program. But when you're thinking about missions giving, talk a little bit about how strategic that is for kind of the whole engine of what's going on for a mission strategy.
Yeah. So let me say this first. I think at least, and you talk about it as kind of low hanging. I think every church should be in some level giving to missions. It doesn't make any difference what level. If you've got 12 people in your church, you can be given $12. $1 a year from every person. Something. I mean, everybody ought to have a goal of making some kind of kingdom impact with their dollars. And so you've got a budget as a church. And it doesn't make any difference if it's $100,000 or $100 million. You're going to make an impact some way through the giving of the church. Carve out maybe a piece of that to make sure you're doing missions giving in some way.
Yes.
Our Southern Baptist churches are giving to the cooperative program. That's missions giving. Or North American Mission Board, International Mission Board, all kinds of Southern Baptist causes. That's mission giving. Every church can and should be doing that at some level. Matter of fact, you look at Paul. He's writing some of these letters. Matter of fact, encouraging some of these people to be giving back to the church in Jerusalem. There are a lot of problems there. They're dealing with a lot of poverty. We need some help there. So he's asking all these other churches in different parts of the world, it would be helpful if you gave, and he took a love offering back to them. In some way, they were contributing to some level of missions giving.
Absolutely.
And so I think everybody can and should be involved in some way. Now, where that belongs, at least in kind of the strategy of Germantown Baptist Church, is that we entered into a couple of years ago a new vision for our church. I sort of expressed this a couple of years ago. I was challenging us to get to a point by the year 2030 where we were tithing to missions. Incrementally getting us to that point, we're giving 10% of undesignated receipts to missions. All right. At the time, 2 years ago, we're giving just around 2%, shy of 2%, something like that. We're going into our second year of this 2030 5-year missions giving plan, where we've increased just over 5%, so about 5.5%. Incrementally over the next few years, we'll go up a little bit until we get to that 10% mark. The reason why we did that incrementally is because it's very difficult to go from probably 2% to 10% in 1 year. That's a significant increase, which automatically might create a major deficit in some other ministry areas. So this is by faith. We're kind of launching out into that. We're trusting that the Lord will be kind and provide for his people to get to that significant amount of giving and expanding our mission opportunities and efforts by the time we get to 2030. Now, we're already, as a church, giving a lot to missions. Cooperative program, yes. Annie Armstrong, Lottie Moon, Golden State Offering. We're giving to other Southern Baptist causes. We're also giving in some ways to support other partnerships we'll talk about in a minute. But we have levels of giving that are part of our strategy of doing mission work at GBC.
It is kind of the fuel of what's, to pull off some of these objectives. And, you and I have pastor churches that are smaller in number, that the genius of the cooperative program is that church of any size can give and participate in mobilizing missions.
That's exactly right. And you take that same principle and apply it in the life of our church. Part of the reason why I wanted to get to this 5-year missions goal where we're tithing to missions is to be able to legitimately say, for every 5-year-old that grabs $1 out from under the cushion of the couch and brings it and puts it in an offering plate, a dime of that is going to go to mission work. So that every single person is participating in missions at some level. Where we used to operate as a church, where many people operate, is you have a certain fund that's set aside, like a missions fund. And so you got 10% of the church at most probably giving specific because they really love missions. and everybody else not really participating in missions outside of just a small part of the budget. What I wanted to be able to get us to do is to say that we're not funding missions in some special way, like some sideline fund.
Right.
We're all doing it together. And so when you give any kind of undesignated gift, eventually we'll be to the point where a dime of that dollar is going to go to mission work.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it is for me too.
And the opportunity to expand, some of the things that you have more in the gospel acronym.
Yeah.
On the basis of really taking advantage of how the church is already giving.
Yeah.
And isolating out the tithe for missions and mobilizing
Yeah.
missions. That's awesome. All right, so the O is ongoing community missions. Do you see that as kind of the Jerusalem aspect of Acts 1:8?
I do. And I think that's where, again, it doesn't make any difference what size church you are. You don't have to go to Africa to do mission work. You can do that right across the street. And so, yeah, I think there's some level in which every church could be participating in ongoing community mission, right there where the church is located. What are the needs like right across the street from you? What is there a local food bank? Is there a clothes closet? And some churches have their own clothes closet, like we do. We have our own clothes closet at GBC. We have other ways that we're doing community missions, even within the greater Memphis area. We're doing all kinds of mission work in the Memphis area. And so every church at some level should be doing ongoing community missions. That is to say, taking the gospel in some significant way right across the street to be able to meet those needs. If it's right across the street, if it's 2 miles down the road, that's what I'm calling ongoing community missions. Something that's perpetuating the work of the gospel right there where you are. It gets you outside the walls of the church, so that we're not guilty of doing everything right within the four walls of the church. Get our people out there into the community doing missions. And this happens not just corporately, but it happens personally too.
Yes,
We're doing this all the time. People are, you and I both know people that are like, we see a need, they go meet that need individually. Like, I know it, and I'm going to meet the need. That's mission work. That's ongoing community missions in the real world in which people live day to day.
One of the things I love about kind of the expansiveness of GBC ongoing community missions is that it's not just that we're going, yes, there are a lot of needs-based kinds of things where we are connected to partners in the city or around us that provide some level of service. But our people are, the design of even jumping in and doing something like that is for gospel conversations.
That's right.
To do the work of evangelism,
That's
to help
right.
people know Jesus Christ. It is meeting a real need. That's very important. It's essential. But bringing the gospel to bear, I think, is what makes this a mission rather than kind of like a social benevolence kind of thing.
Right.
We care about that too, but it's the bringing of the gospel to bear, in community.
Yeah, we'll save this for a later discussion, later podcast episode. But I'm excited right now. We're going to have a meeting. Tomorrow with a group of men in our church that are wanting to start a community mission work. We'll talk about what that is later. Once it kind of hits the ground running, it's exciting. It's like a group of men got together. We want to do, and this is ongoing community mission. We got an idea. We want to go for it. We're jumping in. We want to help and serve for the purpose of being able to share the gospel.
Yeah, I love that. So giving is vitally important, ongoing. We don't, look over our immediate community and the needs in our community for the gospel. But then the S in gospel, short-term trips.
Yeah.
Probably, for churches that are participating in missions, this may be a more common way in which they try to pull off a missions strategy.
And I think this ought to be the goal of every church. Every church may not be to this point where they can do this yet. In other words, there may be a small church, and I've pastored small churches, so have you. There may be small churches that they're not there yet. They can't send a group of 10 people to, Washington State or to Montana to build a church building. So they're not there yet. They don't have the people, the resources to be able to do that. But I think it's a good goal. Now, a lot of churches are already at that point where they can do that because they just maybe have resources and people that have the chance to be able to do that. Not everybody can, but a lot of churches are at this point. Now, this is part of our target. We want to continue to do short-term mission trips. That helps to mobilize a greater amount of people in mission work. That short-term mission trip could be for a Saturday in a neighboring state. It could be for 12 days in a foreign country. That's a short-term mission trip. And so the broader you do that, the more people you can mobilize. So I like to say it this way. If the only thing you do, like in the life of GBC, if I were to say this, if the only thing that we did was one very similar trip that lasted 7 days, cost about the same amount of money, and it was for the same basic purpose, you're not going to mobilize a lot of people to do that. You're going to have a same core group that are going to be wanting to go do
what
that
they're interested
all the
in,
time.
yeah.
Exactly. But if you can broaden your approach to short-term missions, in other words, say it this way, some people have a Saturday and $100. Some people have 12 days and $5,000. It's both missions.
Right.
But if you provide opportunities, if those were your extremes, anywhere in between, so that you're mobilizing more people with different talents and different resources, different gifts, different interests along the way, so that everything's not a vacation Bible school trip. You've got medical, you've got building, you've got disaster, you've got a host of business people, you got a host of different things all across the board. You're able to mobilize more people for short-term mission trips.
I love that. And multi-generational.
Yes.
You know, in our church, we've got kids participating, students, and even some of our short-term trips are actually student-led, student-focused.
Yeah.
They're going in to do the serving and the evangelizing. It's pretty amazing.
And I would say, just as a point of just advice for any other church, I'd say if you're looking to move from one short-term mission trip to 2 short-term mission trips, don't let the second one be like the first one. Go ahead and take your first one, but make sure the second one is in some way going to mobilize a completely different group of people to a different, and so you can kind of stagger those things and broaden those things. That way you're able to mobilize more people and get more people interested. So
I'm pretty sure this is true. I don't know if you've seen this lately, but the International Mission Board, imb.org, I'm pretty sure there's a section on there that's got short-term trips. I mean, you could go through a missions organization like the IMB, and they already have the trip dates, the cost,
the people, they got all the resources.
So if you're in a smaller church, you're like, well, I don't know that we can kind of mobilize a bunch of people, but you got 4 or 5 people that, hey, let's do something. Look at the imb.org website, and you might be able to find a trip that's like, hey,
they can help
focus.
you. Yeah, they can help you, or a larger church out there that maybe have those opportunities to say, hey, come along with us. Come along. We'd love for you to go with us.
Right.
There are plenty of opportunities like that. You may be able to mobilize just a couple of people to go. Those opportunities are there, and that's what our Southern Baptist tribe does for us, is try to help mobilize.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Short-term trips. Okay, so P in the acronym, gospel, is permanent church plants.
Yeah.
Let's talk
so
about
I
that.
would say, if you're going to use this as a part of your target for missions, this is probably the highest level of mission work, is doing permanent church planting. That means using a significant amount of resources and people to leave your church, leave your budget, and to go plant a church. It could be a church in the neighboring city. It could be a church on the other side of the world. But there's a lot of investment when it comes to permanent church planting. And right now, we at GBC, that's not what we're doing. We haven't done that for many, many, many years. Well, we have, as part of our goal, by the time we get to that 2030 missions giving plan, we hope that church planting will be something that we're doing. That is a goal. It's a hopeful goal, but that means there's a significant amount of financial investment when it comes to permanent church planting. Because if you're going to send somebody to go and pastor and plant a church, you might be sending volunteers from your church to leave as well. So you're asking people to vacate their place at GBC and to move, maybe possibly to relocate, and then also siphoning off certain parts of your budget to be able to go with them. Like, we're going to send you not just with people, but we're going to give you money, plant that church so that we're at least sustaining you for a period of time until you get on your feet and become self-sustaining or autonomous on your own. So that's a really big investment of time and prayer and planning and people, all those kinds of things, and resources as well. That's something that we hope to be able to do in the near future. And I can't wait to see what God does to get us in that game of permanent church plants, both maybe local and in a different state, maybe even around the world.
I tell you, one pastor said this way, that the church's concern should be less about seating capacity and more about sending capacity.
That's good. That's good.
I think that, we have seating capacity because we believe the gospel is relevant in Germantown, Tennessee.
Yeah. Right. We
wanna reach people.
Yeah, we want to fill the room.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. So they worship God properly. But to carry through with that mission calling strategically to go
Yeah.
and to plant churches, that is, I think, the pinnacle. That's an amazing. And I mean, we have partnerships with church planners. We can talk about that in a minute. But actually sending personnel from our church, allocating budget, for however long it takes them to get established as a church plant. That is amazing to think
Yeah,
about.
I can't wait. I can't wait to see what God does there.
Yeah.
There's gonna, a lot of work to get us there. But that, again, as I said, this is a target. This is a target.
Yeah.
This is a goal. We're shooting for this. The role of a future missions pastor at GBC will be part of the role will be for him to help us understand how do we hit the target, like how are we going to accomplish that, and so that's what we're prayerful about, and can't wait to see what God's going to do.
Me too, brother. And I think I'm going to do something a little differently. I'm going to go to the L because I want to spend a little more time as we finish up with
it's a good
the
idea.
E.
Good idea.
But the E is establish a foundation, but there's some components to that it's worth kind of spending some time in.
Yeah.
But the L is long-term partnerships.
Yeah.
Long-term partnerships. What do you mean by that in particular?
Well, this is something a little bit different. It can coincide with, in some way, short-term trips or permanent church plants, but long-term partnerships are those partnerships that last longer than a short-term trip. So you're not just going somewhere to help build a church and then you leave and you don't ever
Make
know
a
what
connection, I
happened,
think.
right? You don't have relationships there. Long-term partnerships gives you the opportunity to be able to invest in a particular church or community in some other part of the world where you go back there and you don't just send money, but you follow those dollars with people and resources and information. You also get information back in return. You get investment from them back to you. There's a flow of information and relationship in this long-term partnership. That can help in a lot of different ways. One of the things that just kind of on the nose it does is when you have that kind of relationship, you're able to kind of form a partnership with those people to go, not only are we going this year, we're going to probably come back next year and the year after that, year after that, so that you've got a steady stream of money and people that can help you accomplish your mission in your community, whatever that is. So it's not only saying, we've got a community, we've got a church, we're trying to grow, but you do too, and we're going to come help you. We're going to come partner with you to help you accomplish that in a different area. You've already got a relationship with people. We just want to kind of jump on the back of that relationship and go, how can we help you? You need to reach a community. How can we help you? You want to be able to reach your kids. Can we help you do a vacation Bible school? You may not have enough people to do it. We can bring people to do it.
Right.
There are a number of different ways, and that partnership is kind of a flow of resources and information back and forth. Now, it may not be permanent. What I mean by that, it may not be from here to
20
forever.
years,
Yeah. It could be 5 year. It could be a partnership to say we've got a permanent partnership with you that's going to last at least 5 years. It may last longer than that, but as a way to say during that 5 years, we're going to do that as much as we can. If at some point we see we've done all we can, we've helped you, you've gotten on your feet, you've discipled people, you've mobilized people, now you're doing all that. Now we may change directions and go to another partnership. Right. So it keeps our dollars and our people and our resources fluid. We can keep moving those partnerships where we feel like the biggest impact will be. But that's what we mean by permanent church partnerships or long-term partnerships. We can kind of keep going back and forth. Again, long-term, not necessarily from here to forever.
We have a couple of those at GBC that are functioning, I think, in this kind of model. The country of Belize, very special to our church. We make multiple trips. We have a missionary that we sent out from our church that's on staff in a ministry that we also support in Belize. That's huge, and that's I would say a long-term partnership.
Sure.
It's been going for a while. It's continuing to go. And then we have a long-term partnership with Kenya, particularly through the ministry of the Filter Project, which, I mean, multiple trips every year. The methodology of what the Filter Project is doing for the purpose of evangelism and discipleship and church planting and recruiting really the engine of ministry in Kenya through native missionaries that are there and doing the work of evangelism and missions. it's a tremendous partnership to be a part of, and GBC gets to see the fruit of that in both contexts, Belize and Kenya. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty
It is awesome. And we've got some other partnerships as well that are local, that are in the Memphis community. We've been partnering with them for a long time. But that's all that is to say. There may come a day with any of those partnerships, we look at that and go, we evaluate that and go, okay, we've made a great impact over the last 15 years in that area. It's time now to shift our partnership somewhere else that may make greater impact. We don't know. We just kind of have to evaluate that as we go. But that's part of the thing. Not every church is to the point where they can do that.
Right.
But we are, and a lot of churches are, and I would say that's another goal for a church, is to be able to develop a partnership in some way with another missions organization or another church in another area.
It's fantastic, dude. And so I went out of order.
Yeah.
But I want to take us back to
That's
establishing a foundation. If you're watching, you can see we saw one of these buildings in Greece when
we did.
Kinda.
I developed this one first. This kind of
like a Parthenon.
It's more academic. Yeah. It's more academic, and it's not as kind of contemporary or fun.
So for those of you that are just listening, not watching, the pillars of this building are giving, ongoing community missions, short-term trips, and long-term partnerships, and permanent church plants. But the foundation, is when he's talking about establishing a foundation, it's like these. They're not really stairs, but they're kind of planks in the foundation undergirding
all
the
those
rest
other
of
things.
these other things. Let's talk about those.
Yeah. So I think every church, to some extent, should, in order to be able to do the giving and the ongoing community mission, short terms, all those things, in order to do those things well, most effectively, you got to have this foundation. Without this real good foundation, those things are probably not going to be as effective. And so I'd say it this way. First is a missions ministry needs to be empowered through prayer.
Yeah.
If the people of God are not mobilized, praying for the work of mission, then it's going to be least effective. And so there are ways to do that. Different churches do this differently. They have different groups of people praying for different mission trips, or praying all year long for different mission emphasis.
Yes. In prayer.
So there are different ways to do it. There's not one way of doing it. This is a target. Remember, this is a target. The responsibility of a pastor is to go, okay, how am I going to hit that target? When you say empower through prayer, that may look different in any other church.
True.
And it will.
Yep.
But the point is, you're not going to be able to do mission work effectively unless you're praying. Number two is expanding leadership. What I mean by this is, and these all start with an E, by the way.
Thank you for alliterating.
I'm a preacher.
I love it, man.
I can't help it.
Singing.
I can't help it. So expand leadership means that I think effective ministry of a church is learning how to help other people lead in those mission efforts. So expanding that leadership means training other people to be able to take a trip or lead a trip, right? So when it's a good practice, it's not always doable, but it's a good practice for every person that leads a mission trip to bring somebody with you that's going to watch you lead it, so that somewhere down the road, that they can maybe lead a mission trip. We had this saying in surgery when I used to work in surgery. We would call it this: see one, do one, teach one. And so you'd go into a thing, you've never been in this surgery before, and you're going to pass instruments. It's best just to watch one first. See one, see what the operating room technician is doing and how the surgeon is working, what instruments they're using, so you can kind of see it, and then you're able to go in next time and do it. Like, I've seen it, I've paid attention, now I'm going to go to do it myself, and probably with somebody watching me, and then you see one, do one, and then teach one, so that you bring somebody along and teach them, okay, this is how you do this. So it's a good rule of thumb.
Like discipleship.
Yeah, it's a great model of discipleship, right? So, but the whole point of that is to expand the amount of people that can then lead a group, a small group, to be able to go down the street or across the world to do a mission trip.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So expand leadership. The third one is equip for evangelism. And oftentimes we find that churches will take mission trips and nobody knows how to share the gospel.
Right.
Like, what am I going to do if somebody comes to me and shares and they're lost? They're like, I see you handing out clothes. Why are you doing that? Well, because Jesus loves you. Who's this Jesus? Will you tell me about him? And you got, I don't know what
Where's the preacher?
I just came to hand out clothes, So oftentimes churches will send groups that don't know what to do when they get the chance to present the gospel. So a good, effective missions ministry needs to be equipping people with the tools of evangelism. Now, I think that means ongoing, knowing how to have a conversation with somebody across the street. That's always helpful, but also specific to the location where they're headed. You may be going to, Japan, and we've had groups go to Japan, and so that's kind of specific. You're going to be prepared for the way to share the gospel there, and it's probably going to be different than it is going to be to Mexico. So equipping for evangelism sometimes goes along with that particular mission trip. So we always do that kind of equipping, but there's always a need for equipping for people in our own family or across the street or at Walmart. How do I share the gospel with somebody? So equip people for evangelism. If you're not doing that, then you're not going to be doing much else than feeding people and giving them clothes. And that's not a bad thing. That's benevolent ministry. But we do all that for the sake of evangelism, right?
Correct. That's
so
right.
Number 4 is enlist people. And a good, effective missions ministry needs to know how to get people involved. Like, it's not enough usually to just announce from the podium on a Sunday morning, we're going on a mission trip. Y'all come.
Let's go.
Yeah, and that's one way to do it. But to be most effective is to have relationships with people and know when you are looking to do this particular, like a disaster relief mission trip, developing relationships with people so that you can go to people and enlist them. I know that you have great interest in these things to be able to build. You're a handyman. You've got tools. You've got probably some ability. Can you spend about a week with us in 9 months and go and do this thing? Can we build you a long enough runway so that you can plan to go with us? I'd love to have your tools and your interest and your ability, your love for people, love for the Lord. That's enlistment. It's not just y'all come. It's an ability to be able to go to people. Yeah, intentional. So a good, effective missions ministry, in order to continue to expand, is going to learn how to be able to enlist more and more people. And then finally, the last one is educate the church. There are a lot of churches that do mission trips, but they rarely educate the church as a whole on what that means. What is God doing around the world? What is God doing through our own partners? One of the ways that we do that at GBC is that the first Sunday of every month, in our worship service, we play a video that we call the Acts 1:8 Missions Update. And that is an opportunity for our missions pastor to be able, in a video form, speak to our entire church body and go, let me tell you what God is doing through GBC in the area of missions. And we celebrate something that's just happened. We inform about what's happening right now. And then we try to motivate people for what's coming down the road. Like, we've got a mission trip coming up in 8 months, and we want to tell you about that. We want you to come along with us. So it's a way of educating our church. We do that through Women on Mission. We do that through different things, Vacation Bible School. We're constantly educating our children on what missions is. We talk to them about missions. We do that in other areas too, but it's a way of educating the church so that, hopefully, at least at the bottom, our children are growing up realizing our missionaries are not some special, rare hero. It's to say to our children, yeah, they are, but you could be one too. They're real people. Our missionaries are real people.
Right.
And God may be calling you to be a missionary. He is certainly somewhere. You're a missionary first, but He may be calling you to go across the world, and you can do that. So when you educate people, you are better off in being able to enlist them, expand them as leaders, empower in a number of places to be able to get people involved in different pieces of the mission work, is educating the people. So any church should be and could be doing all 5 of those things.
I agree.
Establishing a good foundation. Now, you may only be a church that can give. That's as far as you can go right now. But give while you're educating. Give while you're enlisting.
Praying.
Give while you're praying. Give while you're beginning to establish some leadership, planning ahead, reaching a goal, what's coming down the road. Every church can and should be doing something of that nature that does all 5 of those things.
It's awesome, man. I was thinking, as you were talking about educating the church, how I can't remember how many touch points. It's like 7 or 8 times you got to say something about something before somebody gets it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we've talked about that. Like, no, it's the first time I've heard it.
I ain't never heard that.
It's like, oh, okay.
Well,
but that's true.
As to our church body, as a large church body, these are one of the things that we will begin to share more of these things in the near future. Again, this has kind of been here at GBC since I walked in, kind of at least in seed form. It's been on paper, but we're getting to the point where we can do more and more of sharing that so that we can be more effective. And I'm going to do a better job, too, as a senior pastor, of being able to communicate this largely, broadly to our church family. We've done it in pockets here and there. We've shared it. We have shared it, but more specifically and more intentionally, because this is really a major, major piece of the puzzle at GBC. It's on my radar, has been since I got here, and so I'm really excited about what God's going to do in the work of missions.
And like you're saying, man, start somewhere. I think every church can pray and give. I mean, wasn't there that? Is it still kind of current, this Operation World that talks about the nations and the need for the gospel in certain nations? And man, you could drop that kind of information in a church bulletin. You could talk about it on a Wednesday night. We're going to pray for Cambodia tonight, and this is how many believers are there. This is how many lost people are there. And begin praying, just putting the concept of, man, we need to get the gospel to the nations.
And we did that for a while. In our worship guide or our bulletin, we did it for about a year. We put different countries in there and gave you some information, snapshot, and say, pray for these people. So there's all kinds of ways to do it. There's all kinds of missions organizations out there that give you tons of information. You can go on, kind of take their resources, be intentional about how you share that. There's a lot of ways to do it. But the point is, do this, set a target for your church. This is what we're going to do. And then somebody in your church or some group in your church has got to be intentional going, okay, how are we going to do it? How are we going to accomplish it? It's going to look different in different churches, but
it will.
And GBC, just so our folks know, our folks know this, but GBC has a long time been a legacy missions church. Giving to missions, expanding, doing all kinds of things. That's ebbed and flowed in different things, different parts of the world. We've had different partnerships for years and years. And so we're still doing that. We're still doing that. I'm just excited about where we're headed in the next 4 or 5 years to get us down the road to expand those opportunities for our church. So
goes the leader, so goes the church. And then I think you're modeling personal evangelism. You're going on trips, calling people to pray, giving. Our whole pastoral team invested in that same thing. I was thinking about this. I may be the only pastor so far that hasn't been on a mission trip.
Since you've been here?
Since I've been here.
Yeah, you've been on mission trips, but
I've been on mission
just
trips,
since you've been here.
Been kind of busy trying to figure stuff out for the last couple weeks. But I'm hoping
had a lot of executive pastoral duties
truly,
to see too.
But I'm hoping maybe this year I get a chance to go on one of our mission trips. I'm really excited about the potential of that. But the pastoral team, it's not just that you're a voice crying in the wilderness, hey, missions. No, the staff, it doesn't matter if it's with kids, students, or whatever ministry area that we're in. We're all talking about sharing the gospel with people, going to people and serving.
Yeah.
And
we got a lot of people involved. I tell you, one of the things I would love to be able to see for those who listen or watch the podcast, I really have high expectations in the next 3 or 4 years, by the time we get to 2030, that we're going to have a number of people that have never participated in giving or in missions outside of giving.
That's exciting.
They've never been on a short-term mission trip. They've never been to, a neighboring city to spend a Saturday doing something. They've never been the other side of the world. They've never given vacation time or resources or whatever to a mission trip. I'm really, really, really praying that we mobilize more and more people to get in the game, get in the missions game, and figure out, where can I go? And begin to pray, not God, should I go, but God, what do you want me to do? Yeah. Where do you want me involved? Not should I be involved.
Right.
There's not an option, but where should I be involved? And I think that's the posture to pray for a church member for missions. So anyway.
I agree, Pastor.
Okay.
That's awesome, man. This is really awesome. I hope this spurs some thinking, not just on the part of our own church family, but others that are listening in different churches on, man, when he assigned this great commission to us, go and make disciples, he didn't lay out a strategy.
No.
In the book of Acts, they're figuring it out, kind of going, expanding. And this is part of what every church needs to do, is say, how we're going to leverage ourselves, our very lives, our resources, the time we have to make a difference for the kingdom. And this is a really good pathway to hit that kind of target of what missions mobilization looks like.
Yeah.
Thank you for unpacking it.
Yeah, absolutely. Loved it.
All right, so as we close the podcast today, we usually end with a closing segment, as most of you know. I don't think we've done this one in a while, so
it's been a long time.
Think about headlines.
Yeah.
headlines or something in the news, something that's kind of in the culture. What's going on? You want to kick us off?
Yeah, I
You want
will.
headline?
Last week, I prepared this one, man. As soon as I saw it, I thought, I hope we can do a headlines pretty soon. Most people probably have seen, if you're connected to news in any way, the Massachusetts governor just signed a bill into law allowing abortion up to the time of birth, all the way up to the time of birth. The headline struck me, yes, but the video of her signing it struck me even harder because she's surrounded by people, mostly women, and I guess that's intentional for for a photo op, but mostly women around her applauding and smiling and laughing and praising this bill and allowing abortion up to the time of birth. And so it was really sad. It's heartbreaking to watch. And it just, too, lets us know that the striking of Roe versus Wade did not solve the problem of abortion in our country. It turned the prerogative back to the states to be able to decide, and Massachusetts has gone right out front and said, we're going to allow it all the way up to birth. And it's so heartbreaking. There are others that have done the same or doing the same and well on their way to do that. But, man, it's just it's sad to watch that God's good creation is still being tainted and tarnished and destroyed by sinful hearts of people who want things the way that they want. Yeah. And it's hard to watch.
Well, Fight for Life is far from over.
Yeah, it's far from over. And this is part of our mission too as a church. We give and partner with some crisis pregnancy centers here in the Memphis area, and we try to do all that we can to at least get in the fight because we want to save babies, not just in our own area, but we lament the fact that this kind of thing is still going on.
Absolutely. Help moms in crisis, the whole range of those things. Yeah.
And statistics show for the large majority, there are answers to the issues, and abortion is not that answer.
I agree.
Yeah.
Wow. Come on, Massachusetts.
I'm telling you. Let's go. All right. Headline.
All right. Well, I have a kind of headline related to women as well.
Okay.
But apparently, so this is news to me, but in 2027 draft for the WNBA, that's the Women's National Basketball Association, that apparently there are some retired NBA players that are declaring for the WNBA draft as, they're males, but they're basically
they're males.
They're basically saying, no, I'm identifying as a woman. You can't figure out what a woman is in our culture, so I'm going to go into the draft.
I'm ready to play.
And so it's, all this crazy unpredictability what that is, but either it's going to expose hypocrisy in our culture. Well, you know what a woman is. These dudes that are 6'10", whatever, are just going to dominate this whole sport.
Yep.
Yeah. Or they're either going to cave and try to make a point like, I guess it is what it is. We'll have to see. But they're doing something I think pretty clever.
I was intrigued when I saw the first guy on social media. It's about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
He declared he's jumped in. It's like, I'm going all in. And I just thought, I don't know his political reasons or his purpose, but I don't even know the guy. So I'm not a fan necessarily. I don't even know who he is.
Yeah.
But I was so glad. I thought it was brilliant that somebody was willing to do that because it's happened in other sports, right? You've got quote transgender people that are, or at least they're biologically they're men. They're competing in women's sports, swimming, and a number of other things, where they're trying to push the boundaries, and they've been allowed to do that. Certain track events, running, all those things. Well, they're winning as males who claim to be females. Well, that's happening, but it's. I want to say this in some derogatory way, but it seems to be fringe sports. At least not the kind of the main three that we would normally talk about, which would be baseball, football, and basketball. At least in the South. Those have always kind of been our main three. Well, now, because you don't have a football league that's a female football league, you might, but it would be very fringe. You don't really have that in baseball, although now you have a women's baseball league. But again, it's kind of fringe right now. It's kind of new and starting off.
What about golf? Is this happening in golf?
I don't know about golf. I'm not really sure.
LPGA.
Yeah, LPGA. I don't know how that's going to shake out.
But
this was fascinating to me because it's one of the big three sports with basketball. There is a legitimate women's basketball, and now this man, and now multiple men now lately over the last week, I think it's now up to 3 or 4 who have said, "Hey, I'm in too. If you're not going to define what a woman is, then I want to play too."
Yeah,
and this is not going to go well for the WNBA. Now, my son made a point earlier. The only way it will go well is that if they allow these men into the league.
It's a circus.
It will be a circus, and it will be a money maker for the WNBA. So they're going to win in that case. It will at least channel lots of viewers to them, at least for a period of time.
And then what will be stopping more men in the future from doing the same
That's
thing?
Exactly right.
Totally diluting the whole WNBA. And
this is why women's sports are under such attack. It's because of the hypocrisy. It's we'll say what it is. What is that? What is a woman? If you're going to allow a woman to play, well, you're going to have to define what that is. Well, I read a few days ago where the execs at WNBA, they kind of go behind closed doors because they got to start answering to this. These guys that are declaring for the draft. So they go behind closed doors to try to iron this out. Well, they come back out, I guess, after that meeting and go, "Yeah, we don't have an answer." So it's kind of like they're still reeling from
cowards
because they don't know. I mean, if you're gonna plant a flag, one way or the other, it's gonna create issues. And I'm just gonna tell you, people have seen this coming for a long time.
Of course,
this is nothing that should shock us, but it's just kind of brilliant that somebody finally just said, "I'm gonna test that narrative. I'm gonna test that theory." And see if they let me play.
It's even an interesting form of protest, isn't it?
It is.
When you think about it.
It is.
And we'll see where it goes. So 2027 draft, when does that happen in
I don't know.
basketball? I'm not sure either, but that's coming. So stay tuned to that headline.
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm not a NBA fan, but if they get into the WNBA, I'm going to at least tune in for a first little while.
The only thing I know about NBA is Caitlin Clark and Sophie, whatever her name is,
Cunningham.
They always seem to be in the news for one reason or another. Usually, one of them's getting beaten up, and the other one's beating other people up. I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's just not my sport, really. Yeah. But I don't know. What a headline, man! I can't wait to see how that shakes out.
Gonna be fascinating. So yeah. Man, all eyes on Massachusetts for a real negative thing. Yeah. All eyes on the WNBA. What y'all gonna do?
What you gonna do?
Okay, you got to figure it out.
Can't wait to see.
Well, it's been fun talking about missions and mobilizing missions with you. I know that's your heartbeat and mine too, and we're excited to see what the Lord's gonna do. Not just in our church, but all the churches trying to be faithful to the mission. Somebody else said it this way: the church doesn't have a mission. The mission has a church.
That's right.
And so the church needs to, let's mobilize.
Yeah, I love it.
For the cause of the gospel. Well, thank you for listening to us and watching us. If you watch us, you got to be crazy to be watching us, but you are. And we thank you for it. And subscribe wherever you listen to this. That would be really helpful.
Yeah, like it, follow it, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And really appreciate the feedback that we get from y'all. It's been really helpful on Facebook and some other areas when you comment and ask questions. So continue that. And we'll see you next time. Not sure what the topic will be just yet, but maybe controversial. So stay tuned on the Gospel Rain podcast.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Gospel Rain. Find us online at germantownbaptist.org/gospelrain for more information and a full list of our episodes. We hope you'll join us for another conversation next week on Gospel Rain.